Hey, hey,
Hey,
welcome to another episode. I am Dagny,
I'm Damali.
and we are going to talk about social media in a variety of ways. So, first, for context, let's talk about our own journey in social media in terms of how it started. So, for me, I think my first experience with social media was with MySpace and High Five. Those were two platforms that started I don't know if they started around the same time, but people were on it around the same time. I was in high school at the time.
Mhm.
And at that time, it was a lot more about I'm going to change the color of my background every week and the song and the little GIF things and spend hours coding. Like we were actually coding back then to create what
Yes.
our pages looked like and who's going to be in our top eight, what was the top four or top eight friends and stuff.
Oh my
So it
God,
really,
MySpace.
yes. So for me anyway, it was a lot more about designing and that was it, as opposed to actually engaging with people. Like, yes, you commented sometimes, but it was really more about just designing for me. Then that for me
Mhm.
shifted going into college. At that time, when you go to college, you have to be on Facebook because all college students
Oh my
are on
gosh.
Facebook. And that's where even universities would have like class groups on Facebook to pretend as if you're really going to engage with your roommate and your classmates before coming on campus and stuff like that. And
Yes.
yes, and at that time, there was no news feed. It was still very much it's just who you have friends with and you just interact on each other's page. And back then they were having, I remember they had this thing like with Target where you could like create your dorm room on your page. And it was like either
Ah.
like a gym or something, but you can like put what all the poster and the bed and all this stuff. And then if you really want to buy something, oh, then you'll get like something to go to Target. I never bought anything, but I totally like spent time creating my little room and stuff.
Mhm.
So that was a vibe, but still very much felt like, okay, yes, we're on Facebook, kind of doing what we used to do on AOL Instant Messenger or like MySpace, but that was it.
Yeah.
Then fast forward, and Facebook decides that they start deciding they want to like take over the world. And so we now have a news feed. And then that's
Mm.
when everyone reads BuzzFeed for their news or for
Oh,
their
BuzzFeed.
comedy and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
then Twitter then is gaining traction. And then Instagram is gaining traction. It's like, okay, and
Yeah.
then YouTube is starting to gain traction. Like YouTube is not just for people who want to sing and can't really sing or do covers.
Mhm.
That's it. Like now people are starting to do, and then Vine is becoming a thing. So all of a sudden, like
Uh-huh.
that was a time where like social media was like all of a sudden it decided that it's coming out of its cocoon and wants to be something completely different than what it had been up until that point,
Yes.
basically, right?
Explosion.
Basically, yes. And then goes into the like content creators and bloggers and influencers and
Mm.
filmmakers and like entertainers are coming out of this space of all the like this it's growing into its own like morphing into its own being as
Mhm.
opposed to it's just a website people go to sometimes and that's it. And then fast forward to now, because I'm going to go to more details of that like later. But
Yeah.
now, because I'm also a blogger. I did do the content creator deal. I still be doing it. I've done the deal of like style blogging, influencing on Instagram. And like I have my own
Yeah.
hashtag, and people be wearing what I tell them to wear and stuff. And then even the brands will be like, can we post your photo? Oh, yeah. But
Mhm.
do we make money off of it? And
Mm.
and then leaning into YouTube because YouTube is like social media and a search engine at the same time. And
Yes.
then getting all this, like being able to just meet all kinds of people all over the world that you never would have ever crossed paths with
Exactly.
outside of this. And then having this weird, like, which we'll talk later about influencers and content creators, because I've note for me, there's this weird, like, limbo land or in between world where
Mhm.
I don't necessarily feel like I'm a celebrity. Like I don't feel like I'm one of those people that TMZ needs to
One of
tell you
those.
about. one of those
Yeah.
people, right? But then at the same time, though, when I pause sometimes to take note, they're like, yo, I've been doing like content creator, public figure type person for like 10 years now. And there's actually a lot
Yeah.
more people who know about me and my work than I even realize. And then there's still
Hmm.
people will come up to me, oh my gosh, Dagny, I feel I totally know you. I've watched all your
Mm.
videos or I've seen all of your stuff and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, thank you so much. But I also feel like they're approaching me like I'm Mickey Mouse almost. Like they can't believe I'm like a real
Mm.
person. And I'm like, no, I'm a human being. Like it's true. I just happen to be like on your screen for 10 years. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's I for me because I think I've not only was someone who initially was just consuming social media, but then
Mhm.
went into the part of like I contribute to social media. So I'm
Yeah.
studying the trends, studying how it's morphing,
Mm.
studying what are these companies looking for, how are people making money off of it, and
Yeah.
all of that. I find it I I enjoy the innovation that I've seen for the past decade with this space, but there's also a lot of
Yeah.
pros and cons on the side of
Yeah.
contributing to the space as well as on the side of consuming. So that is in a cowrie shell. That has been my experience with social media. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, social media. Yeah, I think YouTube was one of the first ones. Like people forget, like YouTube's been through a lot. Like YouTube
Yes.
like started in like 2005. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, and it's still booming. You know what I mean? Which I guess also the connection to Google helps as well because and I think did YouTube come out before Google? I feel like it did, didn't it?
I think it did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they became partners and everything. But yeah,
Mm.
YouTube was the thing that I did first. And yeah, I did the whole like, singing on it and like making videos like that, waiting for 7 hours for videos to be uploaded and stuff like that. I will not tell you what my YouTube name is. You will not find
I
me.
feel we need to find you. I think we need to watch those videos again. No.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I did those videos. I read poetry sometimes. Did the whole thing where I would make my own like I guess like avatar type picture kind of thing. And like, we need privacy. So of course you don't see my face, but you hear my singing, kind of thing. Yeah, YouTube is really like different back then to now. All these new features that was not there. This was before ads. Like they didn't have
Mm.
ads on the video. This is how old, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And then MySpace. I remember MySpace. Tom was my first friend, on MySpace. I remember. And yeah, I remember MySpace, like you could decorate it and you could put music on it, which I love. That's the one thing Facebook doesn't have. I love that music feature
Yes.
when you just put like a song in the background kind of thing. And yeah, and I had like all of my my like, how I love anime and Kelly Clarkson and stuff. So that was all over my page and everything. That was really fun. That too, yeah, I was kind of like just commenting and stuff and kind of dressing up your page, really, kind of
Hmm.
thing. It wasn't so much about like, as much as like Facebook kind of changed that a bit, I think. And then I had to say bye to MySpace at some point. And then I think I went on to Facebook. Facebook was more like I feel like college, really, right? Like that was kind of when
Mm.
Facebook kind of exploded. And then I wasn't making as many videos. I mean, it's once in a while I'll make some YouTube videos, but kind of went more away from YouTube kind of thing. Um, and yeah, Facebook was where I started like, writing more of my thoughts and things and sharing stuff. And you have more like, it's more about like connecting with people and talking to people and kind of thing and making it. And I remember when you're adding friends and adding your pictures and kind of thing, like what like profile picture do you want, things like that.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like I definitely had more of a presence on social media, I think, before kind of thing. And as like an influencer wasn't even a word yet at the time. I
Right.
feel like we didn't even have that word. That was like um, and yeah, I used to post a lot more when I was younger and things like that. Like in college, like all the time, I felt like everything I said was so important. Like everybody has to know and all this stuff. And then now I look back and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Like, kind of thing. Because if I became famous, they'd be like, well, you
Mm.
said this one thing like 10 years ago, and so you're canceled. Like, kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
So that was fun. And then like now, and then Instagram, right? I always wanted to get into like Tumblr and TikTok, but that never kind of happened for me. People were always
Mm.
like, "Don't go on Tumblr, you'll get too obsessed." I'm like,
Mm.
um, but like it didn't really do that much. I still use YouTube, and then and Instagram. Yeah, Instagram became a thing. Well, first it was Twitter. I know Twitter came out first, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. And then I set up this Twitter account. I only used it for like a class, and then I like left it alone.
Mm.
And then recently I got back on it, and still I have it, but I don't use it that much. I kind of just like look at like notifications and stuff. And then we moved on to Instagram. Instagram is my new like obsession, I think. Well, not new, I've had it for a few years, but that's the one where I'll be like scrolling and everything. But I don't post as much as I used to. I feel like when I was on Facebook, when I first was on Facebook, I would post all the time and have so many thoughts and pictures and things like that. Whereas on Instagram, it's more of me looking at other people's stuff and just kind of scrolling and not sharing so much or not posting so much. Sometimes I don't, if I post a picture, I don't even post captions anymore.
Hey,
like that's like
risky.
I'm at. Like
risky business.
Yeah. Yes. Risky. I'm like Beyonce.
Yes.
But no, like, yeah, I literally like, and I remember before, especially on YouTube, man, I would get into heated discussions on YouTube with people I don't even know. I'm like, this is my opinion and I have something to say. Whereas now I'll like write comments and then I'll be like, nah, and I'll delete the whole comment and be like, I don't care. Like, I don't even like, I don't mind, I'm kind of, my headspace is different now. I'm kind of like, not everyone, people don't care as much as you think they do, kind of thing. So there's that. I mean, I was a bit more vocal during the times like, when BLM was like starting and everything, happened obviously with George Floyd and everything. May rest in peace. And like that's where I kind of talk more about, more of this like have more of something to say. And then I went back into my shell again, like that kind of thing. And I'm like, it's fine. But yeah, I think that was really took off. I think at one point, I tried to create a website one time. This is like years ago. Ooh. I tried to make some website, put stuff up. I don't even remember what the name was or anything. This is like, I don't know, it was middle school, high school, I don't know. And yeah, that didn't go anywhere, but it was fun to try. And then another side of it was like writing also. Like I like to write, like I don't know if you guys know what fan fiction is, but like it's basically like there's a story you really love, and then you write your own story based off of that story. Basically, it's kind of the hence fan fiction. And so I remember I would write like a lot of stories about like favorite animes that I liked or favorite books, and write my own spin on things and read other stuff. So that was kind of like more of like that's kind of a lot of what I did social media presence wise before influencers were a thing. But now I'm just vibing. I'm just like seeing what people are doing and just checking it out. Once in a while I'll comment. Once in a while I'll put a picture, but that's kind of that's me like in a nutshell. Now my main thing is like Instagram in terms of social media, and then and I guess like other like what other that's like the main thing. So that's kind of my story with that, and there's a lot more to talk about, but that's like in a nutshell.
I love it. I love how like our generation is the beginning and mid part. Like we hold the history for the beginning and the middle part of social media, the way it has evolved.
Yeah.
And we're the ones,
everything,
and like we are the reason why social media became such an important aspect of everyone's consumption of information now, sort of thing. And seeing how that's now shifting because social media is so heavy on advertising and so heavy on capitalism, and you need to purchase. So now they're so heavy on, well, what this next generation who now can buy stuff, what do they want? And let's morph ourselves to be what they want, kind of thing. Yeah.
Spy on them, algorithm.
Exactly. How can we get them to buy more and all this stuff? So I guess that would be a great segue to be talking a bit about influencers and content creators and the type of information that we be sharing or not sharing, and how that's changed over time. Because like for me, I note that yes, our generation took the influencer deal to like a whole other level of like hyper editorial vibes of we always look like we're just walking out of a Vogue magazine, and we will dress the part. It doesn't matter if we go broke to make this photo, we will make it. And yes. And it was a vibe, it was a time, it was a moment that obviously needed to happen people to see that, yeah, social media could be this too. And it was also interesting because it was breaking down, I feel like it was breaking down gatekeeping, even though it was so hyper focused on being so-called perfect. But it was like the only way you could do this is if you were allowed on the traditional magazine or TV or a movie and things like that. While you had this social media part where like, no, you don't need that executive to tell you yes, you can do it yourself and possibly get even more clout or even more attention or possibly lead to other opportunities to bypass the deal of waiting for somebody to look at your resume or CV and say, oh yeah, sure, you could be on this campaign for me, kind of thing. So I do see, like, on the one hand, there was a reason to push the boundaries in that way and show that no, we can do it just as professionally and hyper amazing like the traditional media outlets have done. But at the same time, the other side of that was, but if we're maintaining that, then are we maintaining this fake notion of you live like this all the time sort of deal?
Exactly.
Which then has done a bit of a nosedive of people being tired of looking so perfect or being so perfect. And now we're having this shifting of, yes, like, yeah, we look, it's interesting because it's like I don't want to look put together, but I'm trying to not look put together by being put together, not being put together. So like my face is done, but I'm going to wear a big t-shirt and big clothing and
yeah, I fully understood what you meant right there.
it's just funny because like it's still an aesthetic because the for me
Yeah,
because I've semi like studied this because I find it so fascinating, the aesthetic of like we used to be, everything was like completely perfect, and because we were so, our generation was also so much of like we wear blazers with everything, we wear the vest with everything, we have this like weird like we're professional looking even though we don't have a job, like, but we're going to dress
we have the outfit.
Wait, it's just for the fit. So now shifting where it's like we're always wearing big hoodies and basically looking like how we used to dress in the year 2001, 2002. Like to me, it looks like we're dressing like the Spice Girls and B2K again. But this time it's like, yes, you're dressed like that to look like you don't really care what you're wearing, but you have a full face. I know you have a full face on, like, even though it's supposed to look like you're not wearing makeup, but I can tell you are wearing makeup or you did do your hair this way. And it's an aesthetic to make it look like I don't really care, but it's the aesthetic of you are trying very hard not to look like you care. Exactly. For the aesthetic, not because authentically you really don't care. So I find that interesting of like how much does that reflect on us as consumers or us as contributors to that? How does that reflect on mental health? Like, is it better now that we want blurry photos and just see you in the kitchen, just see you in your bed all the time? Because I see more of that on TikTok, which right now seems to be much more candid videos or candid content of like, it always feels like someone just decided to FaceTime you or do a video call with you. Let me tell you what happened today. And and it doesn't feel scripted. It doesn't feel like this is trying to be a movie on cable and stuff like that. So I find it interesting to take note of like, does that mean we're doing better mental health wise? Does that mean I know I'm going all over, but whichever part of this you want to respond to or add to or make sense, it's fine. But I just take note of like coming up with social media, these constant conversations of like, no, it's so terrible for people's mental health to see all this perfect stuff because then they compare themselves to it and they can't be it and it's so bad. And then it's like, okay, but we got out of it just knowing that the world is a scam, but we can make things look pretty regardless if the world is a scam. So then the next one's coming up, we're doing the more so-called candid type content on TikTok or other platforms that are now coming up that are trying to be the opposite of Instagram or the opposite of Meta and that sort of thing. If their vibe is, I'm just vibing in my living room and I just put on the camera, I just put on my phone and that's it. Does that mean we are making progress and doing better? Or does that mean we're still looping and claiming that we are vicariously living in a virtual world that is causing a problem for everyone's mental health.
Because they can't handle it because it's not real.
Mm.
No one knows it's not real. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting because I think, yeah, even me sometimes like social, but like content creators should be sharing a lot about their lives. And
Mm.
I won't take advantage, but it'll be very easy for people to take advantage of that, I think. And sometimes like they'll be sharing like really like deep stuff, like they're crying on camera about a breakup
Mm.
or a divorce, something horrible that happened to them. And they're really like depressed and crying and really going through it. And I wonder if like, is it okay for, because basically I mean, yes, we're followers and subscribers, but we're just an audience, we're just strangers, really.
Exactly.
So we're just watching you like break down and crying on camera. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, if you need a hug, I don't know you. I can't give you a hug. I can't help you. And also, like, I don't know you like that. So it's kind of like, when is it too much kind of thing? Even though we do this, I guess, to feel closer to people, especially with like the pandemic and everything. I feel like people more and more are like, oh, this is what I'm going through. And like, I'm being very vocal about like my mental health, and which is good. But I don't know, like, some of it I'm like, should you be telling us about this? Or should you be telling a close friend? Or should it be a therapist instead? I don't know.
Exactly.
But sometimes like, I think it's too raw. Like, it's like,
Mm.
maybe I shouldn't be privy to that much information, even if like it could make me feel closer to you, or it makes, because other people in the comments sometimes would be like, oh yeah, I know what that feels like, and give encouragement and all of that. But I'm not sure if like, because we don't, the same thing with like celebrities. It's like they can make music that you relate to and inspire you and everything, and like you can cry with them and give them support, but it's like at the end of the day, like you don't know them like that and they don't know you. So it's kind of like, as a fan, how much can I do with this information? And I'm like, should I know about this pain you're going through? Should I see you breaking down like this and being so kind of like open and stuff? And like, and even some, like, there's one YouTuber I saw it where she was like like, it's an old video of her like breaking down or something, but it's a past video. So she's watching it with us and being like, oh my, and talking about, oh my gosh, like the growth I went through, like I was in such a bad place, but now I'm better, and all of that stuff, which is great. But I'm still kind of like, ooh, should I know this information? Like,
Mm.
so we're kind of like, how much is too much as an influencer? How much should you let your fans or subscribers know like what you're going through, like a very deep kind of level? Because obviously you don't want to be too surface, because then people are like, oh, we can't relate to you, or people won't really vibe with you, kind of thing. But like, how much is like too much, and is it okay for us to know that much about people when like I've never met you and you've never met me,
Mm.
and all we know is that screen, and like that's it. And we
Mm.
know that screens are it's not like you have to really meet a person and get to know them to really know the person. No matter
Mm.
how much you share through a screen, I don't really know you.
Mhm.
So it's an
Mhm.
interesting shift that we've had where I agree with what you said, where things used to be so kind of like, look, everything's so perfect, and
Mhm.
we made everything look so glitzy, glamour, and all this stuff. Whereas now it's like, okay, so here's me before, like, those before and after things they do on Instagram, where like
Right.
first you don't have the makeup on, you just woke up out of bed, crusty
Mhm.
eyes, and then snap, and you look
Mhm.
perfect, kind of
Mhm.
thing. And that's
Right.
kind of what we're doing. Like, you see me like all raw before I put the makeup
Mm.
on, then you see that, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it's an interesting shift. I think that's also, yeah, obviously happening a lot on TikTok and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting to see how that's changed and like morphed over time.
Mhm.
That was as much of a thing like before. I feel like when I was first on YouTube, or or first on, I don't know, Facebook or whatever.
Right. And sometimes that deal of sharing really personal things like that, like when influencers share that they've gotten a divorce, or someone died,
Yeah.
or they've now become homeless, or they lost something. Sometimes it's difficult for me to also take note of like, are you looking for a community to enable you? Is this
Mhm.
a little performative to maintain this? We're so close. You guys are right here with me. We're in this together. Sometimes it feels a little cringe
Mhm.
to me of like, it's because because we know a lot of, and I don't say this because this is a deal for all influencers, but there's a proportion of them of like, they need to maintain this notion of we are so close and we're best friends because I need you to buy the stuff I'm telling you to buy because I'm getting a
Yeah.
commission. I'm endorsed for this. And so I need to maintain this deal of like we're like this together. We know each other sort of thing. where when I'm like, but is it okay to play around with emotions in that way? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, the added thing of like when you put so much of yourself out there, and there have been stories of like people take advantage of that information and show up in their lives pretending to be something they're not because they've studied you, because you put everything
Exactly.
online anyway, for them to be able to know
Absolutely.
what makes you cry, what doesn't, what do you prefer, what you don't prefer, sort of thing. And it's a bit
Interesting.
it's a bit risky. It's interesting, but also risky. And that's why, like, I know some people they scoff at influencers thinking they don't do anything. They just like, post pretty pictures and that's it and be all up oversharing. And it's like, yes, a lot of them be oversharing, but there is a lot of work behind the scenes for them to do what they're
Yeah.
doing. It does take a
Mhm.
lot of work to be always putting yourself out there without a team or anything, but
Yeah.
that's
It's a lot of
technically
energy.
where your money or where your stuff is coming from. And yeah, I mean, technically you volunteered to do it. That's why you chose to be the influencer. If you chose it, other people like they weren't planning to it and then just fell on them and they're like, oh, I guess I
Yeah.
should just continue and they just roll with it. But I sometimes it does feel a little like I'm not sure if it's one thing you want to bring something personal up so we can start a conversation because like what this would happen to me and I think other people this probably happened to you too.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation
Agreed.
to bring awareness about why this service we need this service or we need this product or something like that. But when it's
Exactly.
really just you crying about yourself, when you really should have been doing this with a friend or a family
Hmm.
member or a therapist, but you're doing it with thousands of strangers. And of course, a thousand of strangers, oh my gosh, we're with you, we're praying for you, or like, they'll comment and stuff. But I'm like, we're surprised when still later it's news that that person jumped out of a window, or as later there's news that that person still had a problem because the comments on the screen does not substitute for the support that they possibly needed.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It's a tough like balance there. Like how much, do you want people to, and then it's difficult. It's like if people come in your life and like you said, how do I know that like you're legit or you just like
Mm-hmm.
saw me and then that's kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes yes, I think there is some of it is like real, really are going through stuff, but there is a performative piece, I think, because you have to
Mm.
like, yeah, like you said, you have to maintain that connection with your fans and people. Otherwise it's kind of like, you won't get all the, I guess, all the input that you want kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I guess the same with like, yeah, with even like celebrities too now can have their own Instagram, have their own stuff, and they're sharing all this stuff. And that too, I think is like a lot of
Mm.
information. For some people it helps them, but other times I'm like, I
We
don't
didn't need
know.
to
It's
know
like,
that. I just need to
you're
listen
going
to
to
your music. I didn't need to know.
exactly, and I don't know, I can't help you, I don't know you like that, and like I'm really all into your stuff, and but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's an interesting a lot of things to think about.
Right.
But that, and then now we can segue, I guess,
Yeah.
into the I guess how we're oh well, we kind of talked about like social media activism, I think was a word you brought up
Okay,
earlier.
yes, yes. Which I think, yes, goes with what I'm seeing differently with generations and what
Yeah.
we've used it for. So I see like the millennial generation is the reason why social media became such an important part of information consumption and engagement and sharing.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I I took note of like between the when our generation became between like the ages of 18 and 25, so college age, I think every generation during that time gets into their so-called radical mode of I can see clearly how everything is messed up. So let me tell you why it's messed up. And I'm going to sign this petition and join this group. And, I'm fighting for this and I'm raising awareness for that. And maybe we were like the first to do it in that way of a social media deal compared to generations before us. And I do think we are the ones who created social media activism, where we are the ones we created so many, even before Black Lives Matter, so many initiatives were created online by our generation, raising awareness about all kinds of things. And we would have t-shirts, we would have marches, we would have protests, we would have petitions. That petition, no, change.org. Everybody had a petition on change.org because you need to sign this and we need to call our representative. Like, yes, we're all here to be change makers. Yes. And it's funny that, and it's also funny that, and of course I'm talking, this is, I guess, for US reference, because this was also during the time for our generation that like Obama was president, who also, that whole campaigning was, yes, we can. We all are community organizers. We all are going to pick up our own boots and sneakers and join the march on the street. And we did all of that. We were all fired up. And I don't blame Obama or the administration. I don't blame Facebook. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just taking note that this was a very unique era for these platforms and us as a generation who took it upon ourselves to be like, we are going to pick this up and run with it and completely redefine what you can do on social media, how you can engage and really move people, that people will show up in the hundreds and the thousands just because they all want change for something. And then, like we noted, fast forward 10 or so years later, and we are the ones who are like, I'm over it. Yeah, I was going to do something, but I'm too tired. Yeah, I was going to do a caption, but nobody cares. Yeah, I could respond to this and give you all the information because I studied this because I went down a rabbit hole about, the whales and the icebergs, but I don't feel like it because I'm tired and I know you don't care. So whatever.
Yeah.
Like that is,
and the world is burning.
The world is burning anyway, and y'all don't even care. Flint still doesn't have good water. Y'all still don't care. It's fine. It's fine. Whatever. The polar bears are skinny. Why are they so skinny? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nobody's getting paid properly, appropriately in any part of the world, but it's fine.
Yes.
You obviously don't care. You don't care. So it's fascinating to see like the enthusiasm, which again is nothing new because every generation before us had this enthusiasm, and again it was snuffed out. Repeatedly, it's snuffed out. And this time we really thought we had the change because we have technology on our side and the rest of y'all didn't have that. So for sure, we must be the beacon of hope. And then it's like, everyone. And then we just end up being, we are the activist sound bites. We have great sound bites, great clips, great little quotes, but nothing changed. We sit back and it's like, okay, so it's still a mess. So what are we doing? Yeah. And now we don't really, it's like, okay, whatever. I don't need to sign a petition anymore. I can't remember last time I signed a petition. Does change.org even exist anymore?
It doesn't really go where I wanted to go when I
Did it go anywhere? All that money we donated, did it go anywhere? I don't know. So I understand when people want to complain about the next generations coming up of like, well, why aren't they doing this or why aren't they doing that? They don't know what work is or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I feel like they're even wiser because their enthusiasm is channeled differently of like, I already see the mess and I'm not picking up your trash. So y'all are going to fix it and I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like if I make the mess, I'll fix that. But this other one, that ain't mine. So y'all gonna have to deal with it. And I'm going to tell you off the bat, I'm not in it. This is a mess and I'm not going to just tolerate it. And I think that is, to me, I find that encouraging because I feel like each generation does what it had to do for its generation to pass the baton to the next one. But I feel like maybe thanks to technology, the passing of the baton doesn't have to wait until we die to get to the next generation. It's like in real time, we are coexisting and collaborating to push the needle forward. Of like, we were doing the deal of like, we're pointing out all of the mess. Like, you guys, this is dead. That's rotten. That's not working. What are you doing? Like, we can't have that anymore. That's not giving what it's supposed to give. It's not. Nothing is giving what it needs to give. What did you think this was? Like, how can I tolerate that? And then shifting it to coexist with the next generation who was like, yeah, and now I'm pulling it out. We didn't necessarily pull it out, but they're like, and I'm ripping it out. Like, I'm not even, now you already know it's bad. So I've already removed it, kind of thing. So I think that is, it's frustrating, but also encouraging.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Cause I remember before when I was younger, I'd be on Facebook and share all these like news articles and talk about them. And here's my opinion. And y'all should do this. We should donate to this. This is what we should do. People should know about this information. And now I'm kind of like, oh my goodness, it's so exhausting. And like
Mhm.
this is the world's burning and things are getting worse. And like no one really listens. You write a comment, it's just hidden in like all this pile of comments, and it seems like
Mhm.
no one really, kind of thing. And it seems like you can help more if you're on the ground, it seems like. But even that, like,
Mhm.
you want to make
It's
a
so
bigger change
small. Exactly. Yeah.
in comparison. And you would think that with technology, we know everything now and all the information's out there. So we should be able to fix everything, right? But yeah, we still
Mhm.
have problems. So it's kind of like, it'll be interesting to see what the new generation, I mean, us too. I mean, we're tired, but we can still do stuff,
Mhm.
but see what the new Generation Z, I guess, does with all of this information, because it's like, it's a lot kind of thing. It's a lot of
Mhm.
stuff. But I remember everyone was all over that, man. Like the activism, like people were putting all their information. Everyone was like, yeah, we're doing this, we're supporting this. Young people didn't, care a lot now about politics and
Yeah.
change and doing all this stuff.
Running for office, everything.
Yeah, we were all over that,
Yeah.
and technology was a tool that we really had that like we didn't have in the
Yeah, yeah.
or in the
And
past
that is
times.
that
So
is where the collaboration comes in. I'm hoping, because I know we can't speak for all millennials, but I'm hoping for the
yes,
majority of us, because we are getting to the roles of like we are doing the hiring, or we are the ones, opening the door for other people. We hope
yeah,
we're doing that in a way that's different from what we obviously didn't like when we were coming up as
yeah.
well. So we're not giving the same problems that we had to the next
Mhm.
generation afterwards. Talking about social activism and how we utilize technology to take stuff offline into the real world. I think that's also a
Yes.
good point to talk about how, with content creators and influencers, how some do the same thing with their work and some don't. And like, what is the bigger picture with that when people talk about, is it worth it spending so much energy and effort and resources to get your TikTok popping or get your Instagram popping or get your YouTube popping? I feel like, in comparison, what I've seen in general, let's say you have two content creators who started at the same time, regardless if they're doing the same type of work or not. Like some may be funny and some are like wanting to be just film cinematography or food or pets or whatever. And you watch them because it takes time to grow your content. It takes time to figure out your vibe. It takes time to go viral. It takes time to maintain your routine and get your audience really being your community. And I'll take note that you can compare how for some, you look at them within a year or two or three. And even though they started out on this platform like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, they now, 3 or something years later, they have a book deal. They're on their second book. They're on a tour. They have an album out. They're in a movie. They have a clothing line. They have a candle line. They have an eyewear line. They have a hair line. They have a lashes line, a lip gloss line, a shoe line. Like they got all the lines for every type of thing with their face on it. They're doing meetups. They're showing up for stuff. And like, but you see how like they've taken what they built on the platform and removed it from the app. They're still
Mhm.
on the app. They're still doing updates. They're still being funny or whatever that got them the clout in the first place. But the real money is coming from the book deal, the TV deal, the clothing, the products. Like they created a whole business based off of their personality and their authenticity. And those followers from that are just always showing up to buy their stuff because they love them, because you have this interesting dynamic of, because I found you on social media, I feel like you're my friend. So I need to support you as my friend, even though we've never met.
Yeah.
Compared to, we have others who 2 or 3 years later, the thing that got them viral in the first year, they're still doing that exact same thing 3 years later. And there is
Mm-hmm.
nothing else other than they're just still on the app doing the
Mm-hmm.
exact same skit, the exact same trick, the exact same joke, the exact same
Mm-hmm.
recipe, whatever. And it's like, on the one hand, I'm like, I mean, if that was your you weren't trying to do anything more with this. This is just for fun. And, you
Mhm.
know, yeah, like you weren't really trying to be anything else. So you weren't looking for something else. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to, I guess. But like, I take note when that happens, some of them will be the same ones complaining that, well, I do all this work and I put all this stuff out and I don't think not enough people recognize me or not enough people, you know, take me seriously and things like that. When you want to be taken seriously, they're looking at, well, if I have all this on the app, why didn't you want to buy my t-shirt? Or why didn't you show up to my meetup? And it's like, well,
Mhm.
because like I feel like those two groups, their focus of the bigger picture is very different.
Yes.
Like one of them where they just stay on the app is like you kind of got a little comfortable in just being popular.
Mhm.
Like you just
Yes.
you like the idea of whenever you post something within a few seconds, hundreds of people have seen it and liked it
Yes.
and commented and shared it. And look, this BuzzFeed says you're the best at something, or so and so said you're the best at something. And so you like that sort of
Mhm.
deal. While the other group who's taken it off of the app, it just seems like their bigger picture was the social media was a means to an end. It
Yes.
was like, this is how I'm going to get to this destination to bypass the gatekeepers or the red tape or the, you don't have enough, you're not who we want, or you're not what we want you to look like, or you don't have the criteria. It's like, no, but I can build that on this social media platform and then take it out so you guys can come to my restaurant, come to my shop,
Yeah.
come to this, go buy my book, that sort of thing. And so when it comes to like, is it worth the effort to be on social media if you actually want to contribute? I feel like
Mhm.
because it does take investment of time and energy.
Yes. A
It
lot
does
of
take resources. Even if you can just use your phone, it still takes resources on your phone to be
mhm.
putting out stuff all the time and being consistent and things like that. I feel
Exactly.
it's very important to understand the bigger picture of your why. And
Yeah.
these platforms won't always nudge you in that direction.
Or exist.
Exactly. Or exist in that for that reason. Like, for example, okay, a little example here for me. I,
Mhm.
the last thing I had posted on Instagram recently was I wanted to do a recap sharing my experience leading a workshop about the business of blogging at
Mhm.
a literary festival here in Accra.
Mhm.
And I had like multiple photos and a video clip that was going to be like a carousel. And then I had already noted what I was going to put in my caption because I'm a writer too. So my captions be maybe a few paragraphs. It's just for those who actually like to read, you know, just a few. And what I found interesting was that I put all the photos, I put them in the order I wanted, and I put next so that I can go on to do the caption. And Instagram puts another window. This looks like it would be a great reel, REEL, and we can sync it to music for you. Would you like to try it? Now, I never seen the window before. So I was like, well, I'm intrigued because we love
Hmm.
experimenting. So let me see what it is. So I
Yes.
say, sure, go for it. Then it does some little like it's processing, and then it creates a reel with my photos and the video, having the photo stay for a little bit and then another photo with some kind of weird tinny music that I guess was trending at the time, which was not my vibe at all. And then I noted while I'm watching, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, this might be okay, but now I need to figure out what other song to put. And then like, I don't know if I like the photo there and stuff. And then I was like, whoa, Dagny, pause, sit back, delete it. And I was like, the reason why my intention for opening the app and sharing this was because I wanted to contribute, showing the recap of that the workshop happened and what we learned from it. So people who actually value that information could use it. My reasoning for coming on the app was not to perform, while Instagram was taking me in the direction of come and perform for us to create this reel where nobody really be reading the captions for reels. You just look at it once or twice and keep on scrolling. Like you don't even,
Exactly.
it's not for any real like consumption of information. It's really for your 2 seconds of entertainment and keep it moving. While my intention wasn't to be 2 seconds of entertainment, I actually wanted to just engage with the community that I have on Instagram of this is what we learned and this was really cool and so grateful for the
You
people who
share
showed
information.
up. Exactly. So that I see as an example of like, it's not so much that, oh my gosh, social media is the big boogeyman, even though, yeah, they're doing some weird stuff with their algorithms and all that stuff, right? But we as the individual do have the power of how you utilize the app, right?
It's just a
Like
tool.
it is a tool. And if you are intentional about how you're using the tool, it can work in your favor regardless. You don't necessarily have to claim, oh, I had to delete all the apps off my phone because it was just sucking out my life. It's like, no, it's just you are the one keep on scrolling endlessly on it. Like we already know it's
Just
made.
take a break.
Just put your phone down. Like we already know it's made for you to stay there because that's how they're making money with your eyeballs, which is fine. It's a business.
Exactly.
We get it. We get it. But if you claim that you want to utilize this platform for your own, to build up something for your own, you can do it, but you got to be really intentional and disciplined about it because the app
Yes.
will most definitely take you into what they need trending right now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And especially like back in the day, like when I was doing style blogging, it was very much of like, you have to use these hashtags and you should post on this time and all this kind of stuff. Because yeah, you're very specific about how you do this because that's how you get more people. While now I know for me, my intention is more of like, I really am just trying to get the word out to who needs to hear this word. I'm not trying, it's not a popularity thing or needing to, I need people to see it within a few seconds and all this stuff. That's not, is the performative part is not really appealing anymore, really. So that is, I feel with the bigger picture and intention, these platforms can be really powerful depending on how you're using it as a tool.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think when you talked about like people taking the stuff off of the platform and putting it out in the real world, as we get more into this virtual world and people hide behind social media, I think people still want and like need a real touch. Like they still want to see the real human or touch the real human or see them or actually, because when you go to meetups or you like, go to a book signing or go, kind of thing, that there's more of a human touch to that, I think. And also even a physical book, like reading a physical thing about them, or like the more physical stuff, like, oh, I bought like they're selling this item and I bought it and I physically like have it kind of thing. And they talk about, kind of thing. I feel like people still want that stuff outside of the app, even though it seems that all we care about is social media and that's it. And I think it's like, it puts more of even if you don't meet them, it puts more of, I guess, a human touch to it kind of thing.
Yes.
And I guess you feel like you're, contributing more. I feel like just keeping it on the app, which is fine, but I think it's very easy to get hidden. And then and I think like trends and things end really quickly, like things on social media, like they last for like a while and then they're gone, and that's it. Whereas I think more physical things like books or things like that, or like those last longer, I think. Or even having actual like TV shows and having more than just like the 1 to 5 minute video or 10-minute video you have like online, and also I think that sometimes I think that like I don't know how long it can last. Like if all your presence is only or mostly online or on Instagram, like how many years can that last? I don't know how long. It's kind of like for 1 year, 2 years, but like, can you keep that up for like 10 years? That's like, not that you need to, but it's like, how long can you just stay in this little box of a phone or slightly bigger box of a computer and not, be able to get out of it kind of thing. And there are many people that I follow that are really funny and everything. And their stuff is great for a time. And then as time goes on, it's just kind of like the same stuff. And we're just kind of like doing the same kind of thing. And I'm like, where, and then once in a while they'll be like, oh, I got into this commercial, or, oh, I did this little thing, or, oh, I'm getting endorsed. But it's not like a continuous thing where some other people can like juggle both. Or we still have the online presence, but you can tell they keep on moving and doing new things outside of the social media part. As opposed to just kind of like staying there, because like people can do the thing, like they have we're online and yes, like if you're an influencer, you get invited to parties, you have the pictures, like you're with all the celebrities, you're posing with like, I don't know, I don't know, some celebrities, like, I don't know, I would say Beyonce, but no, Beyonce wouldn't either. But
Wouldn't do
like,
that. Maybe
just like,
Naomi Campbell, maybe,
maybe, yeah, Naomi
right?
Campbell, Beyonce, I don't know, Rihanna, whatever,
Mm,
kind of thing. Like all these different like famous people. You have the pictures and everything, but like you still like after the day's done, it's over. Like that's it, and you just go back into
mm,
your social media box again. And I don't really know how much, because I see these people like they just like they were on Instagram yesterday. They just got on Instagram yesterday, and then now they're on like Forbes or something, or any of those Vogue,
mm.
or any of those lists of like top influencer, top this kind of thing. And I'm always kind of like, okay, that's fine. You got paid and all that. But I'm like, it's very kind of like, right now you're big and then tomorrow, it's done.
Mhm.
And I feel like social media, and also with how it's so easy for people to get canceled also,
Yes.
I think, on social media, especially because we're all into sound bites and 2 minute to 5 minute little things you're talking about, and people just kind of remove that and then run with it, which
Hmm.
can obviously cause an issue because it sends like mixed, like, and you don't really know what there's this thing
Hmm.
and things like that. Um, so I think it's interesting how that also was not as much of a thing years ago, because I think about like Vine, like I know Vine was just supposed to, it really was a 2 second thing, like funny thing, haha, and then
Mm.
we're done.
Hmm.
And then a YouTube, some YouTubers too, it was just supposed to be fun, and they would just like do like funny videos and talk about things, and like that was kind of it. Whereas now we're going more into like, if you really want social media thing to be a real like last for a longer time, or real like cohesive I guess situation or job, it's like you need to get off the page, right? And also you need things outside. I've heard of other influencers talking about like, you need to have content elsewhere in other locations, because you don't own Instagram,
Right.
right? You don't own YouTube. You don't own,
Mm.
they kind of own your stuff. And if they wanted to, they can just remove it and run, and you're using their
Hmm.
platform.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you need stuff outside of it, and you have to have stuff saved in other locations, and or even have your own website in different places. Because if Instagram, I know there was like I don't know what a time where wasn't it for 3 days? Was it last year or 2020 when like
It was
Twitter was
down.
down,
Right.
Facebook was down,
Yeah.
everything was just down, and
Right.
I'm like,
No, I think
if you
Twitter was the only one that maintained itself. Well, everything,
yes,
well, because
yeah,
Facebook insists on also owning Instagram and WhatsApp and all these other
yeah,
things, when they go down, all of their stuff goes down too. So yeah, it was
yeah,
them that were all
exactly.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a blackout. And I'm like, if that happened for 3 days, and then imagine if it happened for like a week or something, or for a
Hmm.
year, what are you going
Yeah.
to do? Where are you going to, you need to have content in different places outside of jumping
Hmm.
off social media or having your own website and owning more. The thing is to own more of your own like stuff kind of
Yeah.
thing. Because you make all these things, but if the moment you put it on Instagram or the moment you put it on YouTube, it's not 100% yours, right? Because you're
Hmm.
using someone else's,
Hmm.
it's like going into someone else's house and just like using all their stuff. And then they come back, we're like, hey, we're kicking you out. And you're like, what? But I have all my stuff here, but like this is not your house. Like, that's kind of
Yes.
that's the best metaphor I can think. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see the how that changes and morphs over time, and what will be the next phase of it, and see what Generation Z does, because they know everything's a scam. They're not like, they're not in denial like we millennials were in the beginning. Like they know the real and the fake stuff
Hmm.
more. So it will be interesting to see how different it is. And going back a little bit to another point we made before, like I was watching Mila Kunis on the Clarkson show, and she was talking about like, they're like in their 40s, right? So they're talking about how they didn't have social media like this when they were in high school and middle school. And they
Hmm.
were talking about how like, it's so the way social media is, it's so scary, and how easy it is to be canceled and all this stuff, that like they're happy they didn't have social media, because some of the stuff they wanted to say, they didn't get to say it. And I think about that too, where you wrote something as a teenager, and you thought some are like I guess the younger millennials
Yeah.
than them, and you wrote stuff and it sounded so awesome and so intelligent and you're so witty. And then you go back and read it and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe like, oh, like, it's like, why did I think this was the thing to do? What is this?
Yes. Yes.
Um, and yeah, and I think that it's a good thing. Like, it doesn't matter unless you're a huge celebrity. If you become a huge, it doesn't matter what you like as much. But if
Mm.
you become a huge celebrity or something, or become big, people are always like, oh, this thing that you wrote 10 years ago, yeah,
Mm.
we don't like this. You're canceled,
Mm-hmm.
even
Mm-hmm.
though people can change and grow and you can say like,
Yes.
I don't, and you can always change. Like I had this thought or idea about something, but now I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
and I think it's like, it's important for people to say like, it's okay to change. It's okay to say like, oh, I said this one thing, but maybe I was wrong, or maybe like
Mm-hmm.
admit that maybe you have different thoughts on things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to see how social media has changed as a tool and it's grown and things like that, and like people using it as a job, like that wasn't a thing. Like
Exactly.
I think you're right, before in high school or even college, like getting a job where you're only on social media,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, that can be a job. Like we literally made a new job. Like you know
Yes.
what I mean? It's
We
like
made a whole
what? Like
industry. Yes.
a whole industry. Like we did that. Like, and people are like sleeping on, like we literally, like we act like it's no big deal, and generations say, oh whatever. I'm like, we literally made this. Like you don't
Yes.
understand. Like so right. And it's
Gotta put some
cool.
respect on our name. What? Yeah.
Yes, respect. Like that's all millennials. Okay, we all
Yeah.
in this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so all right. But yeah, so it's just kind of seeing, I guess we'll see like in 5 to 10 years, many of the social media people or influencers, where we'll do like a where are they now? Like were they
Mm-hmm.
able to get off the page, get off social media? Were they able to grow in that? What because I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them kind of just fall in the cracks. You don't really hear much about them, and maybe they did a
Yeah.
commercial or they're in a TV show, or I guess they went back to get another normal 9 to 5 job, I guess.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because yeah, it's changed a lot, and like and all of them have all of their, and Facebook is for old people. I still have a Facebook. People say Facebook is for old people apparently, but it does look kind of like a relic compared to Instagram.
Right? Yeah.
Instagram is so glitzy and glamour and all this stuff, and like, and even though Facebook has tried, it has more stuff now and
Mm-hmm.
everything, but it's still not like Instagram is so shiny, and like they
Mm.
follow you and like, oh, you were talking about potatoes yesterday. Well, here, do you want to buy this like potato peeler? And I'm like, I didn't
What?
even know, like
What?
they give me things I didn't know I needed. You know what I mean? And like,
Exactly. Yes.
and God forbid you buy something on Instagram. Oh my gosh. Like
Mm.
the 3 times I bought stuff on Instagram, I was so disappointed. And like, and then sometimes
Mm-mm.
you go to the website and they're like, don't buy this. It's a scam. They take your money, they steal it, whatever, it doesn't work, and all this stuff. But sometimes it draws you in. Like you're looking,
Right.
like, oh, well, maybe Instagram knows what I need. And I'm like, they were
Exactly.
literally like, they're listening in.
Yes.
So, and all the endorsement, I don't even, and people like, oh, if you get a discount if you use my code, or like, here's
Mm.
this like this product that I don't use, but like I'm kind of famous. So if I use it and you buy over, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then of course you have all the videos making fun of that.
Yes. Yes.
Like, and I remember, yeah, when the reels came on, like that has changed. And like, what else? Yeah. And then like, yeah, the ads are crazy. Like that wasn't a thing. Like I remember YouTube didn't used to be like that. Like there were no
Mm-hmm.
ads before, like
Mm-hmm.
none. And then now it's just like everywhere you look, and it's always asking you to, oh, please pay for this, they want you to pay. And I'm like, this is going to be free for as long as it's going. And I don't know if there's going to come a time where YouTube, all those people do charge you, like
Probably.
for real, like you have to,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, but because Netflix has been going through. I mean, Netflix you always had to pay for, but like Netflix has been going through it with
They
like,
are. They are. Because gradually they're getting serious competition. And
exactly. So you have to put
and
the money.
not sure if they know how to compete. But it's true. YouTube is definitely, I feel, is going to switch gradually, because with Google, they know how to deal with their customers. They do things gradually so we don't get scared.
Yes,
So it's a gradual
exactly.
deal of actually everything's going to be subscriber based, where you do need to pay per month to get
Yeah, like
content that you
Patreon.
want.
Have you
Yeah,
heard of
exactly.
Patreon?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even Instagram has a new thing where, oh,
Yes.
pay $2.99 to
Mm-hmm.
subscribe.
To
And
get
I'm just like,
exclusive.
no, I don't
Exactly.
want to pay. That's why I do this. But
Exactly.
they'll do it very like, oh, all you have to pay is $2.99, or oh,
Mm.
okay, $4.59. You're like, oh, okay, well,
Mm.
whatever. And it just slowly creeps up, and
Yes.
now everyone's like Netflix burn, like you know what I mean? Or even though like,
Exactly.
and they're gonna
Exactly.
even though for like things like Netflix and Amazon, you've always had to pay for them, and Hulu
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
and then YouTube is like, oh, you can pay for ad blocker and things like that. All this stuff. And it's just slowly like, do you want to subscribe? And like
Mm.
every YouTuber's like, get my Patreon if you want to watch videos that I don't do here. And I'm like, I don't care enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna pay. Like, and it's like $1.99 per month, like super cheap. But like
You're
that's
right.
but it's not cheap when you think about the everything's going up and like
Yes.
what, you know, like there's so many things to pay for, but I'm like, come on, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I really think yeah, it would be cool to I always wonder if I had continued with social media seriously where I would be. Cause like I remember I was like back in the day, man, 2007, man. I was on that YouTube. I was writing my stuff. Like I was
Yeah.
like, I'm on
Yeah.
OGs. But like whatever. But like I did all of that, and then eventually I just kind of like moved on with my life. But like I wonder what it would have become if I continued. Like I'm just like I could have gotten paid for this, like because
Exactly.
people weren't getting paid at that time. Like the
Yeah.
only way we get paid is if some agent found you on YouTube and
Mm-hmm.
took you out of obscurity, and then let's make you a star. You know what I mean? But sometimes it works for people. I know like some people what was like Tori Kelly, for
Right.
instance.
Right.
She started on YouTube. She went on Idol. Like I love her. She has a great voice, but the song she chose for Idol was not it. Like, you know,
Mm.
but she has a beautiful voice, gorgeous voice, and she writes her own music and everything. She plays guitar. And she didn't really need Idol, actually. She didn't really
Mm.
need American Idol because she did it all on YouTube. She did it herself, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually, I think it was Scooter Braun that finally found her, and she is fine, and she's, you know, and she's getting all these gigs everywhere, and she's been able to do
Mm-hmm.
more outside of just YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's connection to like a lot of singers, like I mean, going into other stuff a bit, but like The Voice or American Idol, like you like the contestant will take you on a journey that you couldn't do when like Kelly Clarkson, for example,
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that. We didn't have social
Mm-hmm.
media like that when she was starting out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now you know all about their journey. You see it on Instagram, like, oh my God, I'm going to be on The Voice and blah, blah, and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows what everyone's, you know, kind of thing. And
Yes.
like you get on a journey with them to see and if like The Voice doesn't work, well, YouTube can work, Instagram can work, you know, things like that. So yeah, it's interesting how it shifted and changed. And like, we'll see in a few years, like what happens with people and like, you know, and then some of even celebrities see you be doing stuff on Instagram or YouTube, and then celebrities come and like be like, oh, I like you. Come on, you know, like isn't that what
Mm-hmm.
happened with Chloe and Halle,
Yes.
right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Beyonce, they just did their thing, and Beyonce was like, you. And when does Beyonce do that? Like the
Exactly.
Beyonce, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Yes.
when, you
Yes.
know? And she's like, yeah, Chloe, Halle, let's go. And it's like,
Right.
okay, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can really found some really awesome talent. Like there's some
Mm-hmm.
really talented people doing their stuff and everything. And yeah, and I think that it's just interesting. We'll see how long people can last on just you know, just on
Mm.
social media or all the other stuff that they
Yeah.
do. But yeah, I think I kind of feel like, does that cover everything? I feel like
I feel that covers everything we
yeah,
wanted to cover.
we have a lot of information. You guys, you know, people
Yes.
listening, you know, if you have any comments about it, how do you feel about it? Let us know how you feel. Are you an influencer? Do you want to be an influencer? What do you feel about influencers? You know, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how social media has become this like completely like
A whole
I
different
forgot
machine.
life. Well, sorry,
A whole
what did you say?
different machine.
Right? I forgot. Like I'm like I remember AOL and like
Yeah.
the dial-up sound. Like
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
remember you know, all that
Yeah.
old stuff, and I'm like, compare that to now. I'm just like, what happened? Like I forgotten a world. There was a world without Google. Like I lived in a world without Google. I don't even
Exactly.
know
We were
it
looking at
existed.
stuff in Carta or something like that.
Exactly. Like, oh my God, not in Carta. Like dating ourselves. Like
Yes.
we're grandmothers. I'm just
And right? No.
like this is so old, and I still have an AOL account. Like I don't care. Like I
Mm-hmm.
still have it. Like someone will ask me when I don't want too much junk in my Gmail, and I'll
Right?
be like, yeah, I'm such and such AOL.com, and I wonder if they're like thinking like, what the hell? Like, why is she using AOL? I'm like, I don't care. Sometimes, you know, I
Yes.
need it.
Yes.
Well, Yahoo, Hotmail,
Hey,
like
yeah, they're still
that was
there.
long
They're
for
still there. Yes.
still there. These dinosaurs are still chilling. What we're, you
Mm.
know, Facebook
Right.
is going, and then Twitter's going through it with Elon Musk. Just like, you know,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
going to
what.
be fascinating to see what
Yeah.
happens or doesn't
Speaking of,
happen. Because, like, in real time, even though, and I love to see also, because, I'm always looking at the global perspective of how, like, globally, it's still very different.
yes,
of in the US, everyone is like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. While other people are like, the app
Exactly.
still works. What are you talking about? Like, we're just like,
I
I mean,
know.
y'all
We're
having a
deleting the
problem,
app.
but I don't know. But
Mhm.
I do find it fascinating to see what happens with it because Twitter was like the only app out of all of them that never went down. Everybody else always would
Yeah.
go down or glitch, and Twitter was always like, "No, we're still here, doing what we
Yeah.
always do, which
We're
is
still
our
tweeting.
one
We're still
job.
flying.
We're still just tweeting." So it is funny, and I take note of like, well, I mean, if you give the app to somebody who can afford to crash spaceships just to figure out how to create the spaceship, then I mean, technically speaking, if that's their protocol of how they make things work or get things to work, then technically the beginning part of their time at Twitter is going to look messy. Similar
Yeah.
to how was the beginning part of Tesla looked messy, the beginning part of SpaceX looked messy. Like it's just that's just the way they do things, you know.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
it would be nice if you're not messy with people's lives, because if you just like fire everybody, what are they supposed to do if they weren't planning to have to find a new job tomorrow?
Fired. Yeah.
That's a little messier than usual. But I am interested to see, fascinated of like, I don't know if it's really going to just go down and that's it for Twitter. I don't think so. I feel like there's too much of other people's money in it to allow that to happen. But it does look like, yeah, there's going to be some changes as well. And to see if they can maintain their relevance without trying to copy everybody else.
Hmm.
That'll be interesting to see. But maybe on another episode, we'll have more to talk about that.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
So this was a great conversation. Enjoyed it. And yes,
Yes.
you listening, let us know what you think about
Yeah.
social media. If you want to date yourself like we did, let us know what was your first social media situation too.
Yes.
Yes,
We want to know. Let us know,
we
listeners.
want to know. Yes. All right. Well, until next time. Ciao. Bye.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye. Take care. Bye.